Hi, we're Group 2, and this is the cognitive model. So what is the cognitive model? It was developed by Aaron Beck in the 1960s. Aaron Beck studied and practiced psychoanalysis and was named one of the most influential psychotherapists of all times. The importance of the cognitive model is to understand thoughts, behavior, and emotions. The cognitive model works with individuals that are distressed and experience distorted thinking. The model's main purpose was to help with depression, but is now used for many other disorders.
A key component of the cognitive model are maladaptive cognitions. A maladaptive cognition is when an individual experiences a severely distorted, irrational, or corrupted thought process. It is because of this thought process that the individual may begin to internalize a falsified belief directed towards themselves, others, or even life itself. This can have extremely negative effects on the well-being of the individual, along with those closest to him or her. Now, maladaptive cognitions tend to be present in two different ways, the first of which is being excess. This is when there is too much of a thought. An example of this may be when a person is undergoing suicidal thoughts or even paranoia. The second form would be deficit, where the individual's thought process is lacking certain thoughts, such as self-respect or self-value. This person isn't experiencing enough of these thoughts, making it a deficit. Now, there are numerous forms of maladaptive cognitions, one of them being blaming, or when a person views his problems or faults due to another person, instead of taking initiative and owning up to their own shortcomings. Another would be filtering, or when someone has something similar to selective hearing, as I like to call it. The individual focuses on a specific aspect of what he or she has been told and can home in on either the positive or the negative aspect of what she has previously been told. Either way, it is maladaptive and isn't the ideal way of thinking. The last example I have given is regret orientation, or when a person is stuck in the past and wallows in their regrets instead of looking to take advantage of the present situation. All forms of maladaptive cognitions are detrimental to an individual's well-being and often causes stress, depression, and other negative repercussions.
Some disorders might arise pertaining to the cognitive model, the first being panic disorder. An individual with panic disorder might experience a panic attack, which is a period of intense fear or distress with at least 4 symptoms that will each rapidly reach a peak within 10 minutes. Those symptoms can be anything from rapid heart rate, having palpitations, sweating, shaking, feeling shortness of breath, chest pain, etc. Panic disorder also takes on 2 forms, one being panic disorder with agoraphobia and one without it. Agoraphobia is an extreme irrational fear of entering open crowded places, leaving one's home, or being in a place where escape is difficult. The next disorder we have is generalized anxiety disorder, aka GAD. It is a pattern of persistent anxiety about the person's general life circumstances. Symptoms that might arise are restlessness, difficulty with concentrating, muscle tension, and sleep disturbance. Next disorder we have is post-traumatic stress disorder, aka PTSD. It is a syndrome of anxiety elements from past events an individual experienced. An example of this is that a person might have experienced a car crash, that they might refuse to ever ride or drive a car again. Next, we have phobias and obsessive compulsive disorder. A phobia is a constant irrational fear of a specific situation or object and causing a strong desire to avoid it. The individual knows the phobia is irrational and exaggerated, but still finds no control over the specific phobia they might have. The phobia might cause anxiety from the fear of being judged by others and or embarrassing themselves. For obsessive compulsive disorder, aka OCD, individuals might experience worry, intrusive thoughts, ideas or images, or an urge to repeat a certain ritual. An example might be lining up their shoes a certain way or switching a light switch a specific number of times before turning it on.
So we are going to discuss 3 treatments. The first one, cognitive restructuring, involves replacing maladaptive cognitions with more adaptive ones. So there are different ways to do this. The first one is notice that you are having a maladaptive cognition. So if you are having negative predictions, then write down what is the worst thing that could happen and then what other outcomes are possible. You could also track the accuracy of this thought. So you can write down how many times that the worst outcome actually happened and then how many times it didn't. The third strategy is to behaviorally test your thought. So if you think you don't have time to do something, then just make adjustments in your schedule and see if you can make a little time, or try to change your attitude about the subject. The fourth one is examining the evidence both for and against your thought. So if you think that you can't do a task right, then try to find evidence for and against, and then write some balanced statements like, I've made some mistakes, but I do make good choices. The second strategy is called cognitive coping skills training. So this strategy involves teaching social skills, communication, and assertiveness through direct instruction, role-playing, and modeling. The third and final technique is called acceptance techniques, which is used to reduce a client's worry and anxiety. It helps them accept that life is full of uncertainties. A good way to do this is to have the pros and cons, weighing the pros and cons of uncertainty and weighing the pros of fighting this uncertainty and the cons of fighting it. So chances are that it will help them accept these rather than fight it.
A part of the cognitive model is the cognitive behavioral therapy, which is CBT. CBT focuses on the relationship of a person's thoughts, feelings, and behaviors. The objective is someone's feelings and behaviors are being caused by their thoughts. The main goal is to get someone to change their way of thinking or their behaviors that tend to lead to their difficulties changing the way they feel. Thoughts create feelings, feelings create behavior, behavior reinforces thought. This is what you see to your right is a cycle. A great reason why CBT works so well is that you can change the way of a person's thinking. CBT finds the negative and false beliefs to rebuild them, and CBT focuses on the 10 to 90 principle. The 10 to 90 principle is when 10% is someone's environment triggering those feelings, and 90% is internal process of themselves. Therapists usually have clients use the ABCD model for homework assignments. ABCD model stands for A, the stimulus or environment, B, thoughts, C, feelings, and D, action. This helps figure out the cognitive distortions of a client. And thank you. This was the cognitive model.